Alrighty, Commissioner, you're live. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Sierra. Greetings, Douglas County. This is Commissioner Kelly Robinson, Chairman of the Transportation Committee. Today is Tuesday, February 15th, 2022, and we're going to call this meeting to order. As is our custom, we're going to go around the room to establish a roll call. I'll start with myself and go proceedingly. Kelly Robinson, Chair of the Transportation Committee, present.
Laura Jackson-Jones, the Vice Chair of the Transportation Committee, and I'm here.
Miguel Valentin, member of the committee, present.
Frederick Perry, present.
Tiffany Stuart Stanley, present.
Any other directors out there to be acknowledged? Okay. Well, we got a quorum, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Miguel, we got a pretty tight agenda, but I'm going to have to keep it tight because I've got to get up there to the courthouse for 4 o'clock. So I'm sure I may have to drop off about 3:30 to let you take it from there if that's okay.
That's okay, I'm here.
Yes, ma'am. Miguel, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you. We'll go fairly quickly through this agenda. First order of business to be approval of the minutes, January 18th, 2022 meeting. The minutes have been distributed, and if everybody's had an opportunity to review them, if there are no edits or concerns regarding them, they're ready for adoption.
Okay. Get a motion to adopt the meeting minutes as presented.
So
moved.
Second.
Okay.
A motion by Madam Chair, a second by Director Valentin. Any questions, thoughts, edits? If none, we're going to go ahead and adopt them by way of a vote. Kelly Robinson, vote yes.
Laura Jackson-Jones, yes.
Miguel Valentin, yes.
Tiffany
Present.
Stuart Stanley, oh, yes.
No, go ahead, Tiff.
I'm sorry.
Frederick Perry, yes.
And
All right.
Tiffany Stuart Stanley, yes.
We've got a 5-0 vote, unanimous passage of the meeting minutes. All right, Miguel, number 2.
Yes, second item would be the presentation from the collaborative firm, and Tiffany can provide an introduction on that topic. Tiffany?
Okay. Thank you so much, Director Valentin. So today we are coming before the committee asking for authorization to approve 2 contracts dealing with public engagement. One is the continuation of the contract that has been in place, that's been renewed since 2018 every year for the collaborative firm to continue to do the great job that they're doing informing the citizens of Douglas County about our transit options and initiatives for Connect Douglas. This contract would run from January 1st of 2022, and it would end on December 31st, 2022. And like I said, this is something that we have been doing. The scope of work will be consistent with everything that they've been doing in the past, and making sure that they're doing social media, engaging the public, making sure that we're branded and that we are highly visible in the Douglas County community. And after I go over the second one, I'll turn it over to Mr. Hightower for some additional information that he would like to provide. And then the second contract is the agreement for consulting services to provide communications and public involvement to increase the public's knowledge regarding a potential SPLOST, and that would run from March 1st of 2022 through November 30th of 2022. The amount of the contract would be in total $175,000. However, $155,000 would be the fee to the collaborative firm, with $20,000 in other direct costs. And the scope of the work for this project would include, press releases, making sure that we're getting the message out to just completely educate our citizens regarding the SPLOST and SPLOST options. This would not be in any way any type of advocacy on the part of Douglas County, but it would just be educational, and it would include communications and marketing, education and outreach and any ongoing support that the county would need. Chairman Robinson, at this time, if it's okay, I will turn it over to Michael Hightower for any additional comments.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be very brief. And I'm also joined by Danielle Cherry Hoover, who also has submitted for your information the monthly report. Very briefly, Mr. Chairman, I'll be very brief. Item one is Ms. Stuart Stanley indicated is continuation with a very special emphasis on the Go Local campaign with Connect Douglas. One of the things that Danielle Hoover presented to you guys in your last two meetings was a strategic way how we need to, along with your office and Serena and others who have been involved, and now with Ron, to have a more a direct approach to specific areas in which we need to enhance based upon ridership. Part two, as a part B of the item, as Ms. Stuart Stanley indicated, was the SPLOS with an S educational piece, which is of course an appropriate action based upon this education only and not advocacy. Mr. Chairman, I also provided to Ms. Stuart Stanley, based upon Commissioner Guidance request on yesterday, a very clear project timeline that since 2018 and how we sought that work and did a competitive process. So I'll be happy to answer the questions. That's what those times are about. And following this matter, Ms. Hoover is on the line to provide a very brief update for the monthly report. So that's where we are, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, that's fine. Mr. Chair, you want to go?
Yes, sir. I appreciate this. And of course, we're working on brevity here. If you don't mind, I'm going ahead and share my screen. Please let me know when you do see it. It's a slight delay.
That's it.
Okay, great. So not only going to just breeze through what's currently going on, but one thing that Mr. Hightower mentioned is enhancement. So we're never tenacious. So what we want to do here is also do a little bit of forecasting. Not everything will check box when we forecast, but we wanted to at least give the citizens and those who are listening that we are in looking forward to that enhancement piece. So we're already trying to be a step ahead while being flexible in the current climate, including pandemic. So what's going on right now, you see left and right, digital and print. Social media campaign is still continuing until the end of February on Instagram and Facebook. We still have Google business page, and then updates connectdouglas.com, in particular directory. I know we had some transitions. We want to still be current with current information and forecast and still do content. Print ads, Chapel Hill News and Views, you may have seen that. So that's ongoing. Under outreach and engagement, the Season of Giving was a wonderful new initiative in partnering with the, I was going to say External Affairs. I believe the new title of Intergovernmental Affairs. If please excuse me if I messed that one up. But working with okay, thank you, Ms. Stuart Stanley. So working with that office in Tabria in particular is how can we best not only utilize that opportunity we did good in the Douglas County area, but to go further. So potential testimonials, the interest within that opportunity, and talking with organizations for future ridership opportunities going into 2022. And then fixed route and van utilization. And then you see there other outreach and engagement opportunities, including aligning and reestablishing meeting cadence with Connect Douglas staff, as well as other county representatives. And of course, and under the direction and tutelage of Ms. Stuart Stanley. And this is the look ahead. Because we're able to pivot and we're wanting to be flexible with the landscape, not only of Connect Douglas, but Douglas County and the pandemic. We want to do a landscape analysis. The fixed bus route has been in flux with ridership because of the pandemic, and we just want to do an overhaul. Just, hey, where's the state of the world right now? So that's what we call the landscape analysis. From inventory and print to working with transitions again. So we want to strengthen the relationships and the enhancements in every transit area to include the emphasis of fixed bus route, and then looking ahead to potential opening of Vanpool. And as Mr. Hightower said, the Go Local approach and planning, that's what we're currently doing with opportunities along the fixed route bus lines. where are the hot spots? Where are people currently going? And how can we touch base not only with the small businesses, but targeted areas? So it's not just riderships, but this is area residents and business owners as well. And then we're going to do all of that into the Go Local marketing communications plan to include some new initiatives, and then those in areas that worked well, such as print and media, and those staple events like Taste of Douglasville, for example. And then create new opportunities within the Douglas County area, including at the Multimodal Transportation Center. It's a wonderful opportunity to bring people to the location and not just fix bus routes. So that is something about Go Local. It's like, hey guys, here's a multimodal transportation center that has great free parking, that is monitored, and it's not only the hub of transit, but it's also a location within Douglas County that can be utilized in other areas. So creating those new engagement opportunities there. And then the target demographics. So to your point, Commissioner Robinson, not everybody has social media. Just to piggyback off of what you were mentioning yesterday during the work session. So those travel training sessions with Woody Fight, with the new Lithia Springs location. So those things are on the docket within those targeted demographics. So not only we're talking about talking to people with a smartphone, but those who may not. So those are the areas that we're talking about, the quote unquote look ahead. And with that, I'll pause for any questions. And if in the essence of time, feel free to reach out to me and I can answer any offline. Thank you.
Very good. All right. Tiffany?
Yes, Vice Chairman Robinson, I'm here.
All right. So I guess Danielle, as a follow-up to yesterday regarding the golden years, I think it's important that we ask you to target certain groups that you may not have done in times past. Everybody doesn't go to the senior center. Everybody doesn't necessarily go to the mall. I believe there's a population of people that we missed, not intentionally, but I'd like to have a little bit more focused effort on that to identify those groups and reach out to them. Can we put that as part of this?
Absolutely. We wrote down the Golden Years Club from the work session, but are open to any suggestions.
Okay. And what about like the 1 to 3 miles away from the actual routes?
Are you talking about the flex route?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I'm hearing that question correctly. So with the flex route, that is something under that landscape analysis that falls under the ridership and the transit services. So working with Ms. Stuart Stanley and thinking about how can we best use the services to reach that first mile, last mile. And currently it's the flex route. And that is, I don't want to overstep, but that more falls in line with the operations. But that is something for consideration on what we're talking about. What can we do with what we have currently? And that is one of them. So working with Ms. Stuart Stanley and the Connect Douglas staff on the operations, merging that with the education and outreach for those folks who are in that 1 to 3 miles.
Gotcha.
So I don't want to overstep and answer an operations type of question, but that is under that landscape analysis piece.
No, you did fine. You stayed in your lane. No problem. But let me shift this just because I think it's related. Miguel.
Yes, sir.
Bus stops, shelters, advertising, marketing. Where do we stand with shelters?
We had discussion regarding shelters probably a couple of years ago. Well, actually just before the pandemic began. There was a group that made a presentation to the committee at that time where they would consider installing the equipment, and in exchange they would be able to either themselves or sell advertising space within the equipment. We did not go beyond that presentation. That said, there is funding available in some of the grants that are still live, pending from FTA, that could be applied to implementing bus shelters. We would of course need to, or I guess now would be Tiffany and the folks at Transit to make an analysis as to where the best location.
A year 3 analysis on our performance overall operationally. I'm dealing specifically with route changes or anything like that, route expansion, etc.
Yes, as a matter of fact, Chairman Robinson, we are in the process right now of doing a deep dive into pretty much everything at Connect Douglas. We're reviewing the routes, we're reviewing the funding, we're reviewing staff. We're looking at everything so we can give a complete picture to the committee, of the operations. So I'm working very diligently with the staff that I have at this time, and we will be, just looking to bring information to the committee and make some recommendations. But yes, at this point, we're definitely going to be. We've been kind of looking at everything that's been happening so far, and we have heard different things about maybe possible route changes that need to take place. Operation hours of the center may need to be extended, different things like that. But like I said, I want to make sure that I bring before the committee, all the information that is necessary. So I will be looking to do that in the next month or so.
When is year 3, in June or May?
June.
June.
June. All right. So to that point, back to the contracts. I'm fine with the first one as you make those adjustments that were suggested. As it relates to the second one, probably a slight suggestion. We talk about SPLOS. The board has not made its decision yet. Probably sometime around May, they will actually say we'll plan on, if we choose to, put it on the referendum. But in the meantime, there is a need and a desire to educate. I don't think it's marketing any specific project, but I'd like to get your guys' feedback on, but soliciting, well, what do you think our party should be? So when you do community engagement, are you asking them, say, hey, these are things that we've heard over time. You got any thoughts on priorities, etc.? Is that part of this? We're not selling anything to them, but we are asking for what their priorities are for consideration. Does that work or no?
I think that works, Chairman of the committee. However, we could do two things, a twofold process, both celebration, education and celebration of what we've done thus far to just emphasize how far we've come and execute education as to where we want to go in the future. Because if we take the tourniquet off, we'll bleed out because all the projects will slow down tremendously. So education and celebration is key for me in my mind.
Yeah, we just completed with that CTP, and so there's a list of projects there. And I think that would be important. So take part of that and share that with the citizens. Say, okay, but what is your immediate priorities right now? What would you like to see if we do another cycle? We got to keep it going, right? We've already did the needs the needs analysis. Let's take that to the public and get their feedback, at least on the transportation component. Now, obviously, I'll stand down on and get other people's feedback on other areas such as parks and public safety, etc. But I think I'm good for right now. So what are we doing here, Tip? Now, we're just saying we'll take these two contracts and send them back to the board for tonight?
Yes. We'll be presenting them tonight. Now that I've, just officially gotten the information to answer some of the questions that was posed by the board. I'll move forward with the contracts tonight if it's the will of your committee.
Madam Chair, are you okay with just sending it straight to the board?
I'm comfortable with that first one for the Connect Douglas piece, but the second one regarding the education for the SPLOST, I'm sure we will be able to respond to the board with the funding source. Are we prepared with that, or what are our plans? Do we have a response form if they ask tonight?
Sure. Tiffany,
Okay.
thoughts? Go ahead.
Well, I did talk to Rosalind Finance, and so she did tell me that right now there's nothing technically set aside for it. So I'd be, I guess, depending on a recommendation, possibly from you and Chairman Jones, on where we could recommend that the funding would come from.
So what do we have in contingency, and what do we have in our fund balance?
Hold on 1 second, I can get that information. Hold on.
Yep.
Go ahead, Chairman, if you.
No, I'm finished. I did, once you provide those two responses to the chairman's question, I think we're
Okay. If you give me one moment, Vice Chairman, I can come right back with that if you want to continue the conversation. I can get that.
Certainly, I don't want to give any implications that there's any hesitation. I want to move forward. I was just wanting us to come in clear, concise, and just respond when that question arises. That's all. So no hesitation on my part.
I got you. I hear you.
Yeah, we got to get out the gate this time.
Mr. Chairman, while Ms. Stuart stands looking, Madam Chair, we also provided to Ms. Stanley very responsive communication regarding your colleague, Ms. Guida's questions. I think if you need that before tonight, Ms. Stuart Stanley can share that with you as well, which kind of outlines from early 18 up until present. So I think that'll be very helpful if you need any additional information. But Ms. Stuart Stanley has a timeline of information that we said we would provide to her pursuant to yesterday's conversation during the work session.
Thank you. That's excellent. Okay.
Chairman Robinson. So,
Yes.
According to Ms. Miller, we have approximately $325,000 in contingency.
Okay. And what about the fund balance?
And you get that information for you. I'll come right back.
Miguel, do we have any pay-go money left over in transportation? Can that be used for this?
It has not been allocated for this now. It would have to go to the board for allocation, but.
No, understood.
Yeah, if it's in terms of cash flow, certainly there's money there that could be utilized for this if it's the will of the full board. Yep.
So, Madam Chair, you got a couple of options. I suggest we go to the board. Here's some options. You can do general fund, contingency, or use the SPLOST pay-go that we've approved to this date. Give them an option and see what the will is.
Right. That's great. As long as we have something for them to say yes or no to. That makes sense. Okay. You have 3 options.
All right. So, Miguel.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's get a motion to make this recommendation to the full board for both of these contracts for consideration with the funding options as stated: fund balance, contingency, as well as SPLOST pay-go.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, I'll go around the room. Kelly Robinson votes yes.
Ramona Jackson Jones votes yes.
Miguel Valentin, yes.
Frederick Perry, yes.
Tiffany, if you're speaking, Tiffany, your microphone is off. I mean on. You still have it turned off. There you go.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
We're voting.
Oh, yes. No problem.
All right, we got a 5-0 vote on unanimous passage to make the recommendation to the full board as stated. All right, let's keep moving. Miguel, next up.
Yes, sir. Next item on the agenda, and I will share my screen because it's related to the Lee Road Phase 1 project. Now, Phase 1 project goes north of I-20, essentially to 78. And let me share my screen. Okay, can everybody see this road map?
Yes, we can, Miguel.
Okay, good. All right, I will, if you can follow my cursor, this is Lee Road, Vulcan Drive is here. I-20 would be below the page, going northbound, and this is South Sweetwater Road coming in and meeting up, intersecting, and continuing, intersecting Lee Road and continuing up to 78. The blue alignment, if you will, are roads that would be potentially retained as part of the new conceptual realignment. But the yellow, the thicker yellow line is the concept alignment that was established as part of the initial study of this project. It was done in the early 2000s, and the project, of course, as you are aware, was shelved at that time in favor of the other projects, the bridge and the like. So there was all of the preliminary work that was done at that time obviously would have to be updated and much of it redone. But this yellow represents what was established as the preferred alternative for that project. So the idea was to take Lee Road, essentially north of Vulcan Drive, and realign it through vacant property slightly to the west, to the east, I should say. And it would sweep around and tie into South Sweetwater, going to the north. The other leg of South Sweetwater would tie into the road and be able to access Lee Road and the new alignment as well. Now, that was what was established at that time. We are in the process of securing a consultant to redesign, to go over the original information and come up with a new concept plan, because it's been so long since that was arrived at and approved by GDOT at that time. So the work for the new project, or the new iteration, is at the very early stages. We essentially don't have a preferred alignment that's been established because we haven't gotten into design yet. But nonetheless, one of the tasks of the consultant would be to review that information and determine whether this original alignment that was deemed a preferred alignment at that time is still the preferred way of realigning the road. However, in the meantime, more recently, there was a development plan that came in for rezoning. And so this is where the proposed building would go. Essentially, it would sit right on top of what was at that time the preferred alignment. So this is the reason I bring it to committee. Number one is because, well, it is a transportation project that we have under design now again. And what was the recommendation at the time would not be viable if this proposal comes through. Now, of course, we cannot, the county would not be in good position to essentially deny the project because of our project. But nonetheless, it is a requirement of development proposals, particularly the larger ones, to take into account projects that are being considered in the area to determine what impact their project would have on them, or vice versa. As part of our review at the early stages of the development concept, we've communicated this information to the developer. They may or may not continue to press forward with exactly this alignment, or I should say site plan for their proposal. Again, they would have to be approved by the county to rezone for that. And but if they do move forward, then we would be faced with a dilemma in the sense that if they're approved to move forward, then we would have to look at a different alternative for the project. I just wanted to bring that to your attention, so that as the rest of the both processes, the development proposal goes before the Planning and Zoning Board, and our design progresses as part of the consultant's work, that we might be faced with a situation where we're having to realign some things to be able to make it work. I'll pause there and see if there's any questions, anything that I can clarify for the committee.
All right. Sorry. Couple of questions. Are there any new subdivisions that have come online or being proposed in that immediate area since the 2000s?
Not in that immediate area, no, to my knowledge, no.
Okay. Second question, have we already hired an architect for the design of this, or an engineer, or?
We are in the process of doing that. We have gone through the first phase of the selection process. It's a two-step process. We have notified the selected firms to submit their proposals for the second phase. So we are in process of making that selection. And we anticipate that we would have the proposals back and make a final recommendation to the committee for board action in March.
Okay. So to your point, we are in play with this proposed, I guess, the thick yellow. You now have a developer. So that is material. So what does our peers over in planning and zoning have to say about this?
Well,
how does that work?
Essentially, they make the developer also aware of our comments, and the developer can decide to proceed and move forward with their proposal. And it would be up to the board to make a determination on the merits of the application, not whether it impacts our project or not. Essentially, if the board were to want to deny the project, it would be for reasons where it is incompatible. It would be for zoning reasons and the like, where the project is incompatible with the area, not necessarily because it impacts our project. So that would be procedurally, they'd be able to move forward and make the argument that this fits into that area, and it'll be up to the board to decide on those merits.
We need to definitely bounce this off of Commissioner Mitchell. You know how home rule works. Have you talked to him already about this?
I've reached out to him on it. I was hoping he would be able to join us today, but he wasn't able to. But yes, I've reached out to him on this.
So is there an action that needs to be taken here, or is this just an
No, this is informational at this point.
Okay. Madam Chair, thoughts?
Yeah, I agree about the home rule piece. One Commissioner Mitchell will take a look and provide his thoughts, but we got to do it sooner than later. And I know the realignment is it's been on the docket for quite a while, right, Chairman of the committee? I know this.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Many years, so it's time.
So Miguel, to that point, what is the time frame for selecting the engineer or architect for the design?
We anticipate we will have the selection in March.
So we're going to have to, some kind of way, have a decision or a conversation between now and then. Yes?
As it regards to the selection or regards to?
Yeah, for the selection, but then we got to
Yes.
get them guidance.
Yes,
Correct.
correct. We're anticipating getting the proposals back and then doing a final selection based on the phase 2 proposal. And then we'll come back to the committee with the recommendation based on the score of that selection process. And that will happen in March.
Sounds good. Next meeting. Got it.
Next meeting.
Okay. Duly noted. Glad you brought this up. That is material. All right. All right. If nothing else on this, Miguel, let's just keep going.
Okay, I'll stop sharing. And next item on the agenda is
Was our procurement director to make recommendations for what should go into the RFP. And so I think we've all committed to providing her with any information that she needs in order to make sure we get this critical piece that's needed to make sure that we can, be accessible and get all the grants that we possibly could bring into the county. And I think, having a funding administrator would be very helpful. So that's what I have to contribute.
Right, so that's still on the agenda tonight to move forward and authorize procurement to put the RFQ in the air. I'm guessing later than March 1st. Is that accurate?
Yes, it's actually
Yeah.
on the consent agenda for tonight.
Madam Chair, are you okay?
I'm perfectly okay with it. Yeah, it's on the consent agenda.
I think this was just a follow-up. I think there's no action that needs to be taken here. It's already on the agenda. Unless you've got something else you guys think we need to add.
Yeah, I think my intent was a follow-up discussion to see if there was anything else that we needed to do, but it sounds like we're on track for the board meeting tonight.
Right, so we went from a funding administrator, and I'm going to still come back to a program manager. Now, bring that up. I think I'm going to have to bring that up tonight, guys, because we're still missing that piece. So I'm back to you, Miguel. You and I probably had a difference on sort of the need. I think they both were needed as a coexistence. But we still need a slate on-demand consultants for program management. Just like the auditor, Madam Chair, I would encourage you to look at our finance committee from yesterday to get the initial feedback from our auditor. And it was very glaring about our need to have program management. So I think we still need to do something regarding that. So what are you guys' thoughts?
Yeah, and I think, Commissioner, we've certainly had discussion about this over the last couple months or so, but and the issue that Tiffany and I discussed, and she mentioned a little while ago, goes to the point as to who actually manages the program per se, because we have one opportunity or one avenue would be for the in-house grant coordinator, if you will, or manager, to be the point of contact, and the consultant to be the overseer, if you will, and the information provider and the tracker of the information. That's one possibility. The other one is all of the mechanics, all of the invoicing is funneled to the consultant to manage and review and what have you. So you can do it either way. One of them, you have in-house staff doing a lot of the routine work and passing the information on to the consultant. And the other one, we pass the information to the consultant. They do the work and they do the reporting and analysis. So essentially those are the two options that we've talked about.
I think there's a third option. There's some small grants that probably can be managed by the grant manager, a case manager, something over in judicial, etc. My thoughts are these large projects, guys, these capital projects. And I don't see the expertise right now that they can deliver them. So it's actually scoping out the project. Who's going to oversee it? One more time, go look at the recommendation from the auditor. It's like there's no owner. There's no single owner. Think SPLOS. Our success is because you have a dedicated team. Help scope it out, coordinate with staff, work with finance, make sure things are paid, etc. Right? There's no single owner. Right? There's no single owner. You guys are busy leading. You're busy delivering services for the public. These are one-offs, and you need a dedicated resources to really do this. So I'm still back to Madam Chair. We're going to need a program manager. I'm going to suggest we take that off of the consent agenda. But there has to be, because that was my whole point, on-demand program manager. That's what I've been saying all along. I'm allowing this to go along, like, okay, we need that as well, but ongoing program management. Who's going to manage my park and do it like we did with SPLOS? That's a lot of work, guys. That's a lot of work. It's just not about status and showing up at a meeting. That's a lot of work that needs to be scoped out, overseen, formal project management. So, Madam Chair, I think there's still some more conversation with that. I don't think we necessarily have to take it as a recommendation from here. I'll take this up directly with our peers. Say, okay, guys. And so, unless you got another thought, Madam Chair.
No, I'm going with your thought. We've been speaking about this for quite a while. We have a lot of projects in there, big projects, big balls, and we need to align them, as we always talk about that one single view. And we need someone even to just pull the comprehensive data together so we can see. We don't even, right now, it's just so many. We just need somebody in here. So I agree with you in a nutshell.
So I'll take it up. I know where I want this to go. And so again, like with our DDS, like with the Transportation Center, like that's evidence. It shows us that we have nobody dedicated. Now again, you guys are directors, but y'all busy delivering services. Great job.
Yeah.
But these are those one-offs. And they're just as bad and just as time consuming. So anyway, we don't need to belabor this because I'm not going to debate the committee. I'll just take it up myself, Madam Chair, respectfully. That's okay.
Okay. I was going to ask, I had a question. Do we have
Yes, ma'am.
on demand for our engineering or the environmental component? I know every now and then we utilize environmental. Do we have an on demand team for that?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do, Madam Chair.
Okay.
All right. Any more thoughts? Deputy, are you okay with this conversation about program management? And we even have some force dedicated.
Okay.
We're not talking about somebody that has to have a job with us and benefits. We're talking about a one-off, like it's SPLOS.
Yep.
You come in, you deliver, you go home.
Yes, sir. And just for my clarity, Vice Chair, that when we say on demand, we mean maybe 3 to 5 firms that we deal with.
Correct.
Or
It's
something
on the
like that.
list.
Yes, sir. Got it. Definitely a win for the county to have that type of service at our fingertips to keep things moving in an efficient manner. So absolutely, I'm for that.
Yeah. Whether they're large, medium, small, they've got experience with bid, state or local. Different degrees of them, but they're on the list whenever we need them. They have no certain assignment. So,
Yes, sir.
Miguel, you okay?
Yep, I'm good.
All right. Next topic.
Okay, the next item on the agenda and we've talked about this at the last meeting, perhaps even one prior to that, but maintenance agreements with GDOT for streetlights permits. There's one on the agenda now for I-20, the BOC agenda tonight. For I-20 and Post Road, we're working with them on others. For whatever reason, they like to do them one-off, one for each intersection or whatever. We're trying to talk them out of that. So far, we have not been successful. Nonetheless, this is on the agenda tonight. Just wanted to flag it again so that you're on the lookout for that. I believe it is on the consent agenda. We also have as the next item a time extension on the Maxim Road Congestion Mitigation Project. This is the GDOT project that we just completed. The time extension is really between us and GDOT, not necessarily the contractor. And it is intended to give us time till the end of June to get the paperwork from the contractor and do a proper close out of the project. The project has been completed. We have taken over maintenance responsibility on the portion that is within the county jurisdiction, and GDOT likewise is responsible now for the maintenance on their portion on the Thornton Road site. So, but again, it's a time extension required because the close out of the project needs to be still done. And so are there any questions on that one?
No, that's on the agenda for tonight, right? This is just FYI.
The time extension for GDOT is not on the agenda. This will be up on the next agenda. But again, it's I mean, if it's the will of the committee, we'll have it on the next agenda as an adjustment to the contract. There's no dollar value. It's just a time extension.
Madam Chair, I suggest the administrator concurs this go straight to the board at the next meeting. Not tonight. Madam Chair, are you okay with that?
I'm sorry, I thought I was talking to myself, my camera's on, but my mic was off. Yes, I agree. Let's move it to the board.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Next item on the agenda is the Stuart Mill and Reynolds project. This is one that we also talked about recently. We have on the agenda, this is one that's on the agenda tonight, is the acquisition of stream credits. They are required whenever there's an impact to the stream that the Army Corps of Engineers has to issue us a permit. They've issued us the permit conditioned upon us acquiring these credits. So once we make the purchase and send them the confirmation that we've bought them, then we'll be ready to move forward as it relates to Army Corps. As I mentioned yesterday, we still have the stream buffer variants, and those are those permits and approvals that we still need to get from these agencies. It's tedious work, but we're almost there. We're down to that one last one. And once we get the stream buffer variants, we'll be able to advertise the project for construction and get it into construction this summer. So I'll pause there if there's any questions on that one. If not, next item on the agenda is the I-20 landscaping project. We do have a change order that we need to process on it. However, it's the kind of change order that we like. This would be a deductive change order. The project came in under budget, and we will have a savings or underrun, perhaps is a better term for these contracts. We have an underrun on the project of a little over $200,000. So initially, Madam Chair, the project was awarded, but the maintenance agreement was not awarded because of lack of funds. Of course, a year has gone by, the project is constructed, and we were able to get it under budget. So that funding is now can be utilized for that purpose.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I will pause.
So do we need to take some action to park that money into some type of fund so it's not sort of absorbed? We're going to dedicate this, assign it?
Yes, we need to assign it. It would be nice. It's for the maintenance of the landscaping islands. Mm-hmm.
So Miguel, we need to make some type of motion to make a recommendation to accept, I guess, the change order to our benefit, but also to reassign the savings as a line item on the SPLOST list under transportation for landscaping maintenance by 20.
Well, Commissioner, the funding was not from SPLOST on this one.
Okay.
It was actually from the tree fund.
Oh.
So it does not need to go to the SPLOST component, but it would go back if it's not assigned for specifically the maintenance. It would go back to that fund, which then is subject to allocation by the board anyway. So you would retain control of the funding. It would not go away or be mixed in with other funds.
Okay, I still want to say it. We wanted for the record that this is dedicated to that $200,000 within that tree fund is dedicated to landscaping for I-20. So we're going to state it. So it's been encumbered. It's based on the recommendation of the board, based on the board acceptance of this recommendation. Madam Chair, are you okay with that?
Yes. Please. Mm-hmm.
Miguel, can I get a motion on this so we can make this
Yes.
full recommendation up?
Certainly, I make a motion that the committee recommend to the full board to approve a deductive change order on the I-20 landscaping project and to allocate the proceeds from that deductive change order towards maintenance of the landscaping on I-20.
So moved.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? This is good, Madam Chair. Okay, we're going to go around the room. Kelly Robinson votes yes.
Ramona Jackson Jones votes yes.
Miguel Valentin, yes.
Frederick Perry, yes.
Tiffany Stuart Stanley, yes.
All right, 5-0 unanimous vote. Send it to the board. So this will be at the next meeting, Miguel.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right,
Thank
keep
you.
going.
Okay, also related to the landscaping projects, we have 2 maintenance agreements. And this is for the signage, for the gateway signage. We finally have been able to work out the verbiage on those. And the agreements themselves essentially have $0 value, but they are required in order for GDOT to issue us the permit for lighting of the signs. So this would allow for a permit to be issued. The cost of lighting the signs, the last estimate we have is in the neighborhood of $35,000. That's not part of this action. This would just be to approve the maintenance agreements that are required by GDOT, essentially to agree that if the sign is damaged in any way, the county is responsible for its repair, or the utility bill that the utility company would be looking for somebody to pay, that the county is responsible for that. So I will need a recommendation from the committee to the full board to approve the 2 maintenance agreements for the lighting of the gateway signs.
And definitely want our county attorney to look at that provision. So go ahead and make your motion, Miguel.
Yes, I make a motion that the committee recommend to the full board to approve the 2 maintenance agreements with GDOT required for lighting of the gateway signage at Thornton Road and at Liberty Road.
Okay, we got the motion on the floor.
So moved.
Second.
We got a motion by Madam Chair, second by Madam ACA. Any further discussion? All right, I'm going to go ahead and call a question around the room. I, Kelly Robinson, vote yes.
Ramona Jackson Jones, yes.
Miguel Valentin, yes.
Frederick Perry, yes.
Tiffany Stuart Stanley, yes.
Right, 5-0 unanimous vote. All right, very good. Keep going, Miguel. Not to rush you, but I got to keep going.
I understand. I have no problem with that. The next item on the agenda is a discussion on the heavy truck traffic potential, the potential damage to roads. And I'm gonna share my screen again just to show you one graphic. Let me see. Okay. Can you see the graphic on the truck? Yeah, anybody let me know? Can you see him?
Yes, we can.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
yes.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a bit of a delay when you share versus when it shows up on the other side. But nonetheless, the concern that's been floating around for a while, this goes back many years actually, is that the trucking industry has been advocating initially trucks, semis look like, if you can follow my cursor, you have the cab and then the one trailer, and that was it. That's typically what you would see. Then they advocated over time and were able to get approval to do double trailers, which look like this. This is the current state of affairs. This is what's been approved for use of the roads. The weight limitation on them is 80,000 pounds or 40 tons. That's what's out there. There has been advocacy more recently over the last, I would say probably 10 years, if not a little more than that, for going bigger, from a 28-foot double trailer to 33-foot double trailers. So the idea is to be able to carry more goods. Of course, the concern has been from the groups advocacy in the counties and state DOTs that those trucks are heavier. The existing approval is up to 80,000 pounds. They're looking for approval for an additional 4 or 5 tons, 90,000 pounds. And so that was, this proposal was originally included as an amendment to the infrastructure bill. However, and that's what generated a lot of concern. However, as the bill was finalized, it was stripped out. So it is not a current approved configuration for trucks, but nonetheless, the trucking industry will continue to their advocacy for approval. And so when this issue came up and Commissioner Robinson asked me to speak to this concern and perhaps the need for the county roads to be, the pavement to be enhanced to be able to handle this truck traffic. So that's why it is before you. I'll stop sharing now and I'll open it up for discussion regarding the concern. One thing that I will say is that the county roads are not designed for heavy truck traffic. Most county roads have never been designed that way. Only state routes have had that configuration from the very beginning. Only state routes in the county, with few exceptions, are designated truck routes. So any use by other trucks on those roads is only allowable if they're having to do a delivery or a pickup somewhere along that road. Now, that's the law, that's the regulation. In practice, however, truckers want to go from one point to the other and they set up their GPS, and if they can find a shortcut, they will do that until they get caught. And if not, they will continue to do that. But I'll pause there and allow for questions or discussion.
So do you or Madam ACA have any insight where this stands for legislation at the state? Is this officially done or what?
As far as I know, it was not approved at the federal level.
So no passage at the federal level, but what about the state? And I think the point of all this is just for us to anticipate, Madam Chair, if in fact our costs are going to go up, that means less projects per se. Obviously, to Miguel's point, we would focus on those that are some, I guess I want to say some one-offs from the major arteries. So if it's on State Route 6 and they do a cut through, you would only assign it toward those type of roads that had the carryover, or I want to call it the cut through. But I don't think there's any action to take right now. Is there, Miguel? Because nothing has been
No,
approved.
no, sir, there's no action to be taken. It's something to keep an eye on because the advocacy is going to continue.
Right.
And at some point, there's going to be some requirement or some pressure to designate additional roads. Right now, the county has limited, I say right now, for a while, for many years, has limited truck routes designation only to state routes. And I think that's probably the way it should stay for a long, long while. But there might be reason at some point to open up a different corridor to truck traffic. If you do that, however, this would be a place where you would want to beef up the pavement specifications, make sure that it doesn't break up.
Understood.
And Vice Chairman Robinson, so on the state level, there is a bill, SB 118, that calls for like increasing the weight limits for logging trucks. And that's currently in the Senate Transportation Committee, and it hasn't moved. I don't know of any other pending legislation on the state level. And I will note that in our 2022 federal legislative priorities, under our first priority, one of the parts of that priority is that Douglas County urges Congress to refrain from passing legislation that increases allowable weight limits on local roads and bridges. So we do have that as part of our legislative priorities. And what I can do, I'll craft a letter and send it to our federal partners, just letting them know that that's a concern for our county. Also, I can bring this issue up at ACCG when we have our county lobbyist meetings. It's something we could potentially, talk about, and hopefully they can take it up to their policy committee for consideration maybe for next year.
Sounds good. Madam Chair, are you okay with that?
I am. I just have a question for Director Valentine. Have you compiled in your mind a list of those particular cut-throughs or thoroughfares that are being utilized in our county that need immediate attention? I know Chapel Hill is one. I've had quite a few citizens call me regarding traffic coming through Chapel Hill, which they think is not a good idea, and I agree with them. So have you compiled a list of those streets that are being, those thoroughfares that are being utilized the most?
Over time, Lee Road was very early on one that I received quite a number of calls. In fact, I had meetings with the folks at Vulcan because of that, and they were agreeable to policing that better.
Yes.
So Lee Road, certainly Post Road, Chapel Hill. It seems like the north-south major arterials or minor arterials are the ones that are most utilized. Route 61, I guess, as it goes into Carroll, starting I think of Liberty Road.
Miguel, would Riverside Drive be a part of that?
Riverside Drive is also, yes, Riverside Drive, Parkway, Riverside Parkway.
Not because I live over there, just concerned.
Thank you for that reminder, but yes, we do get a number of complaints about not only them using it, but parking alongside the roads.
Absolutely.
So are we considering any signage, just to deter the traffic, or are we just making an exception because of this pandemic? I'm just curious. What are our thoughts?
As it relates to signage, Madam Chair, the only avenue that we would have is to designate under ordinance section 1284, if memory serves me, to designate the corridor as a no truck route. Some of those roads are on that list. It's more an enforcement issue because they just ignore it. But yeah, we could consider adding more roads to that list.
Yes. Until we have a remedy. Right now, we don't have any remedies, and It's a double-edged sword. Tearing the roads up, citizens upset because they're bringing big trucks through here. And I know we do have those state roads available, and in the Interstate 20 is here. So it would be a different story if we didn't have those access points, but they're there. So.
Okay, Vice Chairman, I'm sorry, Robinson. Also, I just got some information provided to me by a staff member. ACTG has taken a position in opposition to increases in truck weight limits. So they already have taken a formal position on that. But no, I don't see it. There's no legislation that's been introduced, but they have taken a position. Just wanted to update you on that.
Great, thank you. So to that point, Director Valentine, Madam Chair brought up a good point. Let's compile a list of streets that may be a good target for signage. Madam Chair, are you okay with that? We just come back at our next meeting and just take a look at it for discussion.
About 12K. And I think Butch, the PO was sent to Butch Thompson so they can put us on their schedule for work. And Madam Chair, are you familiar with this invoice?
Have already signed. I signed off last week.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Okay, so this might be old there, but we're moving forward with that, Vice Chair, and I will get an update from Heath as to when that work is scheduled to start.
Yes,
but I think, sir.
Yeah, both start and finish date, so that'll be fine.
Start and finish date, yes, sir. And I believe that he showed you all the things that he had as far as the modification to that subdivision and to the cul-de-sac that will have the rainwater run directly into the drain. So looks like a great plan, and we'll see what happens. But I will have a start and finish date for you.
Again, good faith effort, Madam Chair. To that point, this is our second and final effort to cure this. We've done all we can do as a county in good faith to mitigate this issue. I'm just going to leave it at that. No further comment. You okay, Madam Chair?
Yes, I'm okay.
All right. All right, Madam Chair, I'm going to yield the floor because I got to get up there with you. So, Miguel, keep going.
Commissioner, can you hold just 1 second? I do have one update. It only take a minute.
Okay.
On Lee Road widening project, we have been working with, having been in discussions with the contractor that was selected. They had a concern about the length of time that went by between the bid and the award, and the escalation of pricing that has taken place. They were hesitant to sign the contract because they didn't think that it was going to be profitable for them. We did go have discussion, and they have agreed to go ahead and sign the contract, and they've done that. They indicated that they were hopeful that they could still have some sort of accommodation. I've indicated to them that we're not allowed to do that under federal guidelines, but that they indicated that GDOT has found a method or a way to be able to make some sort of accommodation. I indicated to them I'd be happy to have discussions with GDOT to see what that would look like, because to my knowledge, it is not allowed. But nonetheless, so that I just wanted to give you an update that we have the signed contracts back from them. We're still going to be looking to have discussions on some sort of accommodation from GDOT on the cost, and then we'll have discussion about that. They've agreed that if there is no way to accommodate, then they will do the project for the amount bid, which is what they need to do. And we are looking to do a pre-construction meeting in very early, the first week in March. So that's where we are.
Great update. Thank you for that. Duly noted. So we're moving forward in March, pre-construction, starting sometime, in April or May?
No, we're going to be, well, the utility relocation, the initial will We'll start probably within March, if not very early April.
Excellent. What about notifications to the public?
That we will get right on as well. We need to do the outreach and the notification and get the signs out there.
Correct. That's something the Madam Chair has brought up in times past, and I agree. We got to get this one right, guys. So let's go ahead and communicate. We have the funds for it, so let's just do it right and be timely, not the day before. Madam Chair,
Commissioner, this is
okay.
That sounds like David.
David, good.
David, were you saying something?
I was just reminding Commissioner Robinson that I also was here to answer any questions by her. You was getting ready to ask Madam Chair, so I did not want to interrupt.
No, I duly noted on this matter. I'll take up the rest later, guys. Madam Chair, I really have to yield to get up there with you to be timely. So, guys, I've got to yield the floor. All right?
Okay.
I'm good, though. Thank you, Miguel. I got it. Duly noted.
All right. Thank you, Chairman of the committee. We'll see you here soon.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, Director Valentine,
Okay, Madam Chair.
what do you have next?
Next would be adjourning the meeting, essentially because the updates that I wanted to give you, I had items on the agenda that spoke to that. So Stuart Mill and Reynolds, we're getting ready to, once we get the final permit on that, put that on the street. Lee Road, we're going to be doing a pre-construction meeting very soon. We've wrapped up the Maxim Road project and are just looking on waiting on the paperwork for that. And the sidewalk project on Maxim Road as well. We're having a pre-construction meeting. I think it's a week after next. So things are moving forward in a big way.
Okay. All right, that's great. Any other of our Transportation Committee members have anything to add? Okay, thank you so much today for a great meeting. We covered a lot of important points today that I know we'll be taking a few of these items to the Board of Commissioners in the very near future, and others we still will continue to hammer and just continue to just press it through till we get results. And appreciate you, Director Valentine. Roads are not easy, they're easier said than done. And you and your staff do a fantastic job. And thank you so much, Danielle Cherry, for your support with our Connect Douglas and all the great things that you're doing as well. If there's nothing else to come before this committee, this meeting is the Transportation Committee meeting is adjourned. Take care. We'll see you next.